Good afternoon. I'm Joe Halder, and I work along with your executive team to bring you your employee benefits platform. And this year, or this time of year, is called Open Enrollment. And it is that time where you all, as employees, have the opportunity to review, make any changes, or ask questions and evaluate the benefits choices that you've made. A couple of items this year, and I want to talk about what happens during open enrollment, because we're not going to be seeing a lot of change this year. There's one item that is changing, that's on the dental side. Everything else is remaining quite the same as it was last year. Some small changes, really small changes on the medical side, a little bit of premium change there. But by and large, there's not a whole heck of a lot of change. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't focus on a few things and evaluate whether or not you should make different choices or at least consider it. So let's talk about what some of those choices would be at this point. On the medical front, you've got two PPO plans. I'll call one a rich plan and the other one an economy plan. The rich plan is your PPO 500 plan, a fairly small deductible, 80-20 split after you meet your deductible, and office visits that are $20 for primary care and $40 for a specialist. For those of you who are really keyed into this plan, when I said $40 for a specialist, you may have just realized the one change that was made in that plan, and that is the $40 specialist versus $20. That's the only change in that plan. The rest is staying exactly the same. But the point is, on this plan, it's fairly rich. There's not a lot of out-of-pocket cost on your side that is required. We're talking about in-network benefits mostly because it's difficult for most to go out of network. Most physicians and facilities are all Anthem Blue Cross related, and because you're the nationwide group, you could then see any Blue Cross Blue Shield doctor in your state, which again is probably the largest network in the country. So being in network is really not a difficult thing. Your out-of-pocket maximum is only $3,500. That is one of the lowest out-of-pocket maximums in the industry. So should this be a really bad upcoming year for you when it comes to medical needs, your worst case scenario in network is $3,500. That's a really small exposure. Now, when I talk about next year, understand because this is open enrollment, what we're talking about is what takes place effective January 1 throughout 2020. So it's January 1 through December 31st of next year. On the more economical side of things on the PPO is the Blue Cross Solutions PPO. That plan is a $3,500 deductible. So clearly there's more exposure to you, and your coinsurance is 30% instead of 20%, and your maximum out of pocket is $6,300 instead of $3,500. That is still a relatively small risk for you. What I mean by that is you could end up being in the hospital for over a month with $1 million bill, and the most it's going to cost you is $6,350. That's a pretty good deal. Your choices then are about, well, which side of this equation favors you? Meaning that, do I want to go to a richer plan with a higher premium and have more benefits? Or do I want to go to a more economical plan with a higher premium but a lower cost, a higher deductible, but a lower cost? And there's no right or wrong answer in this equation. It's really more about what suits you and your expectations for next year. If you expect that you're going to have virtually no expenses and you end up being right, well, then clearly the cheaper plan was a better way to go because it costs you less money. But if it turns out that you ended up with a fair number of claims for whatever reason, it could be prescriptions, it could be lots of labs or tests, or maybe there's a surgery or hospital stay, then it may have suited you more to be in the richer plan. And so it's something that now's a good time to evaluate. And even though there's really not much changing by way of benefits here, there may be considerations that you have on your end that are changing the choice that you would make. The premiums themselves are going up a bit. As much as Residential Bancorp dedicates a lot of resources towards your employee benefits, they still can't stop rate increases across the board, and some of those are still going to be faced. And you'll see what those are. They're not crazy increases, but there are some, and so you'll want to take a look at that, and maybe that would help shape what decision is best for you. If for some reason you have any additional questions, or there's some special concern that you have that you don't see being addressed here, I'm happy to have you reach out to me, and we can do our best to answer your question that way. And so as we're looking at the medical side, there's not a lot changing. Your premium is going up a little bit. Most everything is staying. The networks and all staying the same. Where we're seeing some change, or where we're going to see some change, is on the dental front. And so if you're following along in your benefits brochure, this is on page 4. Currently, our dental PPO plan is with Guardian. This year, when we evaluated our options for additional medical carriers as well as our ancillary carriers, it was clear that if we moved the dental from Guardian over to Anthem, the overall value to the employees would be improved. And so we did just that. The design of the plan is identical to what you're used to, meaning that it has the same $50 deductible, 100% coverage preventive, 80% basic, and 50% both major and orthodontia, with a $1,000 out-of-pocket maximum. None of that's any different. What you'll notice being a little bit different is your premium has gone down a bit. And what you may also notice, for those of you who are going in network on the PPO plan, some of your dental providers will be the same. They'll also be in network with Anthem. But if you happen to come across one that's not, you can still see them, because the out-of-network benefits are the same percentages and deductibles. So I don't think you'll run into any issues whatsoever with this plan. So just know that starting January, your dental provider will switch from Guardian to Anthem. Now let's look at the Guardian benefits. We're staying with Guardian with the other ancillary benefits in vision, life, disability, EAP, and so on. And so we'll take those one at a time. With Vision Plan, we have Davis Vision. Premiums are staying the same, benefits are identical. One thing I would bring up here, though, is for those of you who have the coverage and aren't going for exams, I would strongly encourage you to get in and at least get an eye exam. We're starting to notice more and more that the eye exam is kind of a tell into the body, if you will. We're starting to see the effects of cardiovascular disease and even some cancers showing symptoms in the eyes. And so sometimes that is an early precursor to other maladies. And so just by going in and getting your eyes checked may end up serving you very well. So it's worth it. And if it turns out where corrective vision is in your future, well, then you've got a plan that's built in to be able to provide that for you at a very, very low cost. Okay, that's Davis Vision. Also with Guardian, we have a couple of life insurance benefits. One is called Basic Life, and that's a $25,000 policy that Residential Bancorp pays for you. In addition, you can add to that under the voluntary term life. And for those of you who have already begun to do that and you did it under guaranteed issue, then you're able to do it without any medical questions, so to speak. If you're going to be adding it now, then you're going to need to provide some evidence of insurability, usually through a medical questionnaire, and then you can just add that particular amount to your plan. The costs for doing that are at the bottom of page 6 in your brochure. You just look up the amount that you would want, then your age category, and it tells you what the premium is at that particular age. One word about life insurance. Because you'll need to designate a beneficiary, I would encourage you to make sure that your beneficiaries are up to date and that you're choosing the most appropriate beneficiary. I've explained to the other groups here that a little over 2 years ago, we had an employer group where one of the employees died in an accident, and he had $250,000 of coverage. Some was basic and some was voluntary. Unfortunately, he had an old ex-girlfriend as his beneficiary, and he had never updated it. And it really created some problems for his family. And unfortunately, we were powerless to change that. Pardon me. So it's very important that you maintain your beneficiary designation, and just let us know if you need to know what that is, or if you'd like to change it, we can just get you to update it so that that uncomfortable situation doesn't happen in your family's way. Another item under Guardian is voluntary disability coverage. And where you'll see the cost for this, because there's a chart and a formula that you'll need to use, and that is in the Guardian Enrollment booklet. Disability benefits will pay you if you become disabled. Now, so many of the coverages that we've talked to up until this point pay other people when something happens to you. This particular benefit pays you. And the costs that the premiums, that is, that we've negotiated with Guardian are really, really good. So if this is something that even remotely appears to you as an item that you should have, then I would strongly encourage you to be looking into it and signing up during open enrollment, because I think it's a very worthwhile benefit. The last thing on the Guardian front that I'd like to bring up with you is on the back page of your benefits brochure, and that's the Employee Assistance Plan. And on that back page, there's a username and a password, a website, telephone number, and so on. Let me explain in greater detail what that is. And if you'd like to see more, it's also in the Guardian booklet. But an Employee Assistance Plan, an EAP plan, is really a counseling benefit plan. And the type of counseling can run the gamut from marital issues to financial issues, legal issues. You could be part of a sandwich generation where your parents have moved back home with you along with your adult kids. It could be any number of things that are causing stressors in your life. And having a professional on the other end of the line to be able to talk to and try to find a better solve would be a good thing for you to do. Well, Residential Bancorp pays for this plan for you. And I would encourage you to avail yourself to it, because the benefits that can be received from it are certainly worth your time. And in fact, if you need a face-to-face appointment or two, even up to 3 a year, they'll provide that to you as well. So it's a plan that's worthy of your time, and it's something that I would recommend you looking into if the benefits are something that are appropriate for you. Okay. So we have talked about this open enrollment, the timing to get changes in, and as a reminder, over the next week, please get any changes into MARGA that you want. In addition, one of our other groups, we talked about qualifying events during the year, because every now and then we get a question during open enrollment that, well, my spouse is going to possibly be losing coverage during the year. Should I just get everybody signed up now so that it's not a problem? And the answer to that is, if your spouse or dependent child has coverage either through a Medicaid program or through another employer, and they're going to potentially lose that coverage at some time next year, then that type of coverage covers under what's known as a qualifying event, meaning that when their coverage terminates, they can immediately be added on to your plan here. So you don't have to do it in advance of that. You can let it run its course, and when that plan ultimately terminates, then you can immediately add them on to this plan. Now, I say immediately because you cannot delay. There cannot be a gap in coverage, and if you wait more than 30 days, it'll be rejected, and then you're going to have to wait until open enrollment next year. So if you happen to have a situation where there is a spouse, another dependent, who's on a group type of plan, it could be a social benefit like Medicaid, or it could be an employer-sponsored plan, and they're going to lose that coverage, you can wait for them to lose the coverage and then get them added. That's not a problem. If there's another type of situation, then let us know what that is, and we'll address it best that we can, and that may stave off you having to add them prematurely. All right. I think we've covered the information that we needed to on this open enrollment period. Margaret, was there anything you wanted to add?
No.
Anything I missed? Okay. So thank you for your time.